Hi, this is Dan Sullivan. I'd like to welcome you to the Multiplier Mindset Podcast. I'm going to give you an idea that I call the 4 C's. And what the 4 C's is a way of thinking about how you make progress as an entrepreneur. So one of the things that's very necessary for entrepreneurs is that you always be thinking about improvements in the future that are bigger and better than any result that you've gotten in the past. Now, a lot of people get paralyzed. They'll have an idea for something that's new, better, bigger than they've had in the past, but they find it very, very difficult to take action. So I've watched this for close to 40 years. I've coached more than 6,000 entrepreneurs, and I noticed that when entrepreneurs actually make breakthroughs, they have a 4-step process, a thinking process, a deciding process, an action process that actually leads them to their breakthrough result. Now, most people would like to have a bigger and better result in their future. You can talk to anybody and say, what would you really like to have? And if you encourage them and you give them some time to talk about it, what happens is that they'll say, well, I would really like this. And I said, so when are you going to take the action to actually do this? And they say, well, I'll take the action when I feel confident that this is the right thing for me. So I say to them, well, confidence is actually the reward that you get from actually making the breakthrough. You actually don't have the confidence before you make the breakthrough. You have the confidence after you make the breakthrough. And they said, right. Well, what I really meant is that I'll take action when I have the capability. And I said, well, you do acquire the capability before you get the confidence, but that's the third thing that you get when you actually decide to make a breakthrough. So there's 2 steps that are necessary before you get capability and confidence. And the first step that you have to make, I call it the first C, so there's 4 C's. Capability and confidence are the 3rd and 4th C, but the number 1 C is called commitment, that you have to actually commit that you're going to move forward in creating a breakthrough in your life before you get the capability, before you get the confidence. So right off the bat, if you ask somebody to commit to something where they don't have the capability and the confidence, their thought, their response is, well, that's really scary. And I said, yes, exactly, it's scary. So the 2nd C that you have to go through is courage. And courage is a word that's not used a lot today because people don't like courage. People admire courage in other people, but they actually don't like the experience themselves. And I always say the difference between courage and confidence is that confidence feels really, really good. When you feel confident, you feel really, really good. And that's just the opposite of the way that you feel when you're in a state of courage, because courage doesn't feel good at all. It feels awful, as a matter of fact. And the reason why it feels awful is that you've committed yourself, but you don't yet have the proof in terms of capability, in terms of confidence, that this is actually going to pay off, that you're actually going to get the breakthrough that you want. So when I talk to entrepreneurs about this, I said, let's not talk about the future, let's talk about your past. I want you to pick a situation where you made a tremendous breakthrough, okay? And I'm going to have you use this, and it's actually 4 boxes that I use, 4 boxes together. So I said, tell me what it was that you committed yourself to before you made the breakthrough. And I said, now, when you made the commitment, but you didn't have the capability yet, you didn't have the confidence yet, was there a period that you had to go through when you just had to rely on courage? And they say, oh, yeah. And I say, how long was that? And in some cases, they'll say, well, it was half a year. I had to be in a state of courage before the capability and the confidence actually appeared. And I said, well, it's the combination of making a commitment and going through a period of courage that actually creates new capability and creates new confidence. There is no other way to create capability and confidence except by committing and then going through a period of courage. So we talk it through, and it's really wonderful to listen to this, to actually have people talk about their breakthroughs. And entrepreneurs, when you get them started and looking at their careers, you can see that every time they took a jump in terms of actual results in their company, it actually was a result of them doing a breakthrough. And in every case, they went through this 4-stage process of commitment, courage, and then capability and confidence. And then from that level of higher confidence, they were able then to commit again to an even bigger breakthrough, and the process repeated itself. Now, really successful entrepreneurs, and what I mean by really successful entrepreneurs, I mean individuals who continually grow, continually make jumps in their business, have just mastered this 4-stage process. But in every case, when they made a new commitment, they had to go through that period of courage. So even though they were very successful and they were very accomplished, they had tremendous capability, when they did that new thing, when they committed themselves to that new breakthrough, they had to go through the period of courage again. So I find it really, really strange. A lot of entrepreneurs, after they've been successful for 20 years, 30 years, they'll tell you a story that's a wonderful story about their past of having made all these breakthroughs, and they totally agree that they went through the 4 C's, they went through the 4-step process to make the breakthrough. But then when you get them talking about their future, they try to design a future where courage is not going to be required anymore. And I said, well, you're not going to have any more breakthroughs. And they said, no, I've got things really organized. The breakthroughs are going to happen automatically. And I said, no, they're not. They're not going to happen. I said, it doesn't matter how successful you become. It doesn't matter how skillful you become. The next thing you're going to do that represents a breakthrough is going to have to go through a commitment where you don't have the capability and you don't have the confidence, and so you're going to have to go through a period of courage. So what I'd like you to do as you listen to me with this is just recognize and totally accept that for the rest of your life that you want to be a growing entrepreneur, you're going to have to go through these 4 stages. And the most important one that is going to really make the difference, that's actually going to create the breakthrough, is that willingness to go through periods of courage.